beneath the vast skies where rivers whisper through emerald marshes. The reed tribes have lived for centuries. People bound not by stone or steel, but by water, wind, and the rustle of reeds. Their homes rise gently from the wetlands, floating like ancient dreams upon a mirror of sky. Here, life breathes in rhythm with the tides, patient, enduring, and untamed. Generations have passed, yet the scent of the reeds, the shimmer of dawn on water, and the quiet strength of their spirit remain unchanged. An echo of humanity's oldest harmony between earth and survival. Far across the southern plains of Iraq, where the Tigris and Euphrates intertwine into a shimmering maze of wetlands, the marsh Arabs have shaped a world unlike any other, a civilization born of water, silence, and reeds. Here, the horizon ripples with reflection, and time drifts as slowly as the current. The great Mesopotamian marshes, once thought to be the Garden of Eden, cradle their homes, floating temples of woven reed and faith, standing as testaments to endurance amid endless water and sky. For thousands of years, the marsh Arabs have called these wetlands home, mastering the delicate balance between land and river. Their houses, sculpted entirely from reeds, rise above the flooded earth like golden mirages. Each arch and curve reflects generations of craftsmanship, passed from father to son, mother to daughter. The boats glide across the channels, carrying the memory of ancient Sumer, the echo of civilizations that once flourished here, where writing, farming, and faith first took root. But history has not always been kind to this watery kingdom. The tides of empire, war, and drought have swept across these lands, threatening to erase what nature and humanity built together. The marshes once spanned thousands of square kilometers, alive with water buffalo, wild birds, and whispering reeds. Then, in the late 20th century, the waters were drained. The marshes turned to dust, and with them, a way of life nearly disappeared. The air, once filled with the songs of oars and wind, fell silent, yet the reeds return. Slowly, the water has come back, and with it, the spirit of the marsh Arabs. In the glimmer of dawn, smoke rises again from reed houses, and the reflection of life dances once more upon the water. Their resilience is not just survival, it is a quiet defiance against time itself. Amid a world that rushes toward the future, they remain guardians of an ancient harmony, living proof that between the river and the sky, humanity can still find its place. Deep within the southern reaches of Iraq, where the great rivers lose themselves in a vast, glimmering expanse of water and reed, the Mardan people, the marsh dwellers, have built a world both ancient and eternal. Here, the earth melts into water, and water breathes like a living thing. The sun rises upon a silver horizon where the reeds sway in endless chorus, and from them, the Mardan shape everything they need: their homes, their boats, even their bridges between life and dream. For centuries, this has been the land of reflection, the mirror of Mesopotamia. The Mardan are heirs to that first cradle of civilization, the descendants of those who once walked the cities of Sumer and Ur. Their architecture is unlike any on Earth: arched houses made entirely from bundled reeds, standing weightless yet strong above the flooded plain. Each dwelling is a sculpture of faith and patience, curved like the wings of a bird, bending but never breaking against the wind. Inside, light filters through the woven walls, turning every morning into a soft, golden haze. Their boats, the mashuf, glide silently through narrow channels, carrying the rhythm of a life shaped by the pulse of the marsh. Every reed cut, every structure raised, speaks of a profound understanding that to live here is to live with nature, not against it. The Madan have always known that the marsh gives and takes in equal measure. When the rivers flood, it is blessing and trial alike. When they recede, the land remembers what was lost. The world once sought to drain these marshes, to silence this watery heart of Iraq. Villages vanished, and the songs of the Madan nearly faded into memory. Yet water has a way of returning, and so do those who belong to it. Today, the Madan rise again from the reflection, rebuilding their reed houses, restoring the delicate harmony their ancestors kept for millennia. Their story is not only of endurance, it is of belonging. Between water and sky, between past and present, the Madan remain a living echo of the ancient world, proof that beauty and survival can share the same breath in the House of Reeds. Across the quiet waters of Lake Nokoué in southern Benin, the Tofinu people have built a city that floats, a labyrinth of stilted homes rising from the lake like reflections of the clouds above. Here, where land gives way to water, the world of the Tofinu begins. A shimmering landscape of wooden walkways, reed walls, and boats that glide as gently as the morning mist. Life does not march here, it drifts. The lake itself is the heartbeat, steady and eternal, whispering stories of resilience and refuge. Long ago, the Tofinu came to these waters seeking sanctuary. In a time of conflict, when kingdoms fought and captives were taken for the slave trade, they fled to the marshlands, a place too shallow for large boats, too tangled for armies. Here, among the reeds and water lilies, they found safety. What began as refuge became a home. The people learned to anchor their lives to the lake, raising their houses upon tall wooden stilts and weaving reed walls to shelter against wind and rain. Over generations, a city emerged, Ganvier, the Venice of Africa. The hum of voices carries across the water, mingling with the splash of paddles and the laughter of children leaping from narrow decks. Every roof, every post, every shimmering reflection is the mark of a people who turned survival into culture, necessity into beauty. The Tofinu do not simply live on the water, they live with it. Their days rise with the sun's gold shimmer on the lake. Their nights drift beneath the songs of frogs and lantern light swaying gently on the ripples. But the water that once sheltered them now changes with time. The lake grows crowded, the fish fewer, the balance more fragile. Still, the Tofinu endure, their stilted homes standing like sentinels above the deep. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the mist folds around the village and the first oars touch the water, it feels as though the world has forgotten to rush, and the Tofinu remain there, suspended between earth and sky, a living testament to the power of human grace upon water. Far from the crowded coasts and restless cities scattered across the turquoise waters of the Sulu and Celebi seas, the Bajau people live where the ocean never ends. Their homes rise on stilts above the tide, slender and silver against the horizon, while beneath them, coral gardens shimmer in the light. The sea is not their boundary, it is their world. Every breath of wind, every ripple of water carries the rhythm of their lives, a melody as old as the tides themselves. The Bajau are often called the sea nomads, wanderers of the deep. For centuries, they have drifted between islands, following the pulse of the ocean and the promise of the catch. Their houses, built from wood and reed, balance delicately above shallow lagoons bound by rope and patience rather than iron or concrete. When storms rise, the Bajau read the sky like a map, the waves like words. Their wisdom is not written, it is remembered in the muscle and breath of every diver, every boatmaker, every mother who teaches her child the song of the sea. Generations of Bajau have learned to live entirely upon water. They dive without fear, holding their breath longer than most could imagine, their eyes open to the deep as if born from it. Each descent is both survival and ceremony, a quiet communion with the sea. Their boats, carved from a single tree, move silently between the coral shallows and the open blue, carrying families, stories, and traditions that drift like the tides from one island to the next. Yet even here, where time once stood still, change arrives with the current. Rising seas, shrinking fishing grounds, and shifting borders press upon the Bajau's floating world. Some have moved to the shore, building their stilt houses on coastal edges rather than the open sea. But the heart of the Bajau endures, in the songs that echo across the water at dusk, in the gentle creak of boats tethered beneath the moon. To watch the Bajau is to see life in motion, not on land, not at sea, but in the space between. They remain children of the tide, masters of balance, a people whose home will always follow the horizon. Along the slow, winding rivers of southwestern Nigeria, where the reeds sway like green flames against the water's edge, the Yoruba river communities have shaped a life woven from water, wood, and memory. Morning mist settles over the lagoons, and the sound of paddles striking the surface echoes through the dawn. Here, on these calm waters, the Yoruba people live in reed huts that seem to breathe with the river itself, homes that rise and fall with the current, as if nature and humanity move to the same rhythm. These river settlements trace their roots to a time when trade, travel, and worship flowed through the waterways. The Yoruba, masters of adaptation, learned that the river was more than a passage. It was a living spirit. To build upon it required understanding and respect. From reeds and palm thatch, they shaped their shelters, airy and resilient, designed to withstand the flood and the heat alike. The scent of wet earth and burning wood drifts across the water as life unfolds in quiet harmony. Children laughing from canoes, elders mending nets by the banks, drums echoing from distant shrines that honor the river gods. But beneath this peace lies a history of endurance. These communities have watched empires rise and fade, colonial lines drawn and redrawn, storms of history passing across their waters. Through it all, they held fast to the river, the lifeblood of their identity. The reeds that build their homes are more than shelter. They are symbols of renewal, growing again after every harvest, bending, yet never breaking. As the world beyond their waters changes, the Yoruba river dwellers continue to live by the pulse of the land. At sunset, when the river glows with firelight and the huts shimmer like lanterns upon the tide, time itself seems to slow. The reeds whisper their stories to the wind, of ancestors who first settled here, of gods who guard the depths, of generations who learned, that the truest strength flows gently. In these floating villages, where the river meets the soul, the Yoruba have kept alive a way of being as fluid and enduring as the water that carries them. Deep in the misty forests of Kerala, where rivers coil through shadow and light, the Cholanikans live quietly beneath the green canopy, one of India's smallest and most secluded forest-dwelling communities. Their world is hidden between bamboo groves and steep valleys, a landscape where every sound feels ancient. The call of a bird, the hush of a stream, the rustle of reeds swaying in the wind. Here, in the silence of the Nilambur forests, they have built their homes from the living breath of the earth itself. Reed and bamboo shelters that rise softly among the trees, blending with the wilderness, as if grown from it. The Cholanikans are people of the forest's memory. Long before roads carved the hills and cities climbed the plains, they lived by the rhythm of rain and river. Their shelters, bound with reed and vine, stand as quiet sanctuaries, simple, round, and open to the wind. Each home is built with care, not to conquer the forest, but to belong within it. Smoke curls from the morning fires, merging with the mist, while sunlight filters through the bamboo leaves, painting shifting patterns on the earth. For centuries, the Cholanikans lived in near isolation, untouched by the noise of the outside world. They gathered from the forest, spoke their own ancient tongue, and followed a wisdom carried through generations, one that teaches reverence for every living thing. The forest was their teacher, their medicine, and their guide. The reeds that roof their shelters are not merely materials, they are gifts of the earth, renewed each season, humble yet enduring. Change, however, has reached even these hidden valleys. Roads creep closer, and new voices echo in the forest. Some Cholanikans have stepped toward modern life, while others remain beneath the bamboo shade, holding on to what the forest still remembers. At dusk, as firelight flickers through reed walls and the sounds of night awaken, their presence feels almost timeless, as if they were born from the forest itself. In a world rushing forward, the Cholanikans remain guardians of stillness, a living echo of humankind's earliest harmony with the wild, where home is not built upon the land, but within it. Across the warm, sapphire waters of the Andaman Sea, between the islands of Thailand and Myanmar, the Moken people live where land and ocean breathe together. Their stilted villages rise above the tide, anchored by slender poles that shimmer in the salt light. Boats drift beneath them like slow-moving shadows. To the Moken, the sea is not a distance to be crossed. It is a home, a cradle, a memory that holds their every story. For generations, the Moken have lived upon these waters, known to many as the sea gypsies of the Andaman. They move with the rhythm of the monsoon, guiding their wooden boats through the islands with a grace born of centuries. Their homes, built from wood and reed, perch lightly above the waves, strong enough to endure storms, gentle enough to sway with the sea's breath. Each plank, each pole, carries the patience of a people who have learned to listen to the ocean rather than command it. Their lives follow the tide's quiet language. The Moken dive for shellfish and pearls, read the currents by the color of the water, and navigate by stars and wind. The sea has shaped their eyes, their lungs, even their hearts, a bond so deep that children once learned to swim before they could walk. When they rest, it is not upon the land, but within the rocking embrace of their boats, the horizon stretching endlessly in all directions. But the Moken's world, once infinite, grows smaller with time. Borders now divide their open sea. Tourism and modernization press upon their villages. Still, they endure, their stilt houses standing like echoes of a gentler age. In the evening, when the sun sinks behind the islands and the waves turn gold, the Moken gather by lantern light, wrapped in woven cloth, their songs carried softly across the tide. Their story is not one of escape, but of belonging to a world where water and sky are one. In the silence between waves, the Moken remain true to their oldest truth, that freedom is not found on the shore, but upon the sea itself. At the mouth of the great Orinoco River, where the jungle dissolves into endless waterways, the Warao people dwell in a kingdom of light, water, and whispering reeds. Their stilted homes rise above the delta's flooded plains, anchored in silence, their reflections shimmering upon the brown-green surface. Here, at the meeting place of river and sea, the Warao, whose name means the boat people, have lived for centuries, crafting a life that moves gently with the current. The Orinoco Delta is a maze of life, twisting channels, drifting islands, forests of palms and reeds that hum with the sound of unseen wings. In this living labyrinth, the Warao have built their world not by taming the land, but by flowing with it. Their houses stand upon tall wooden stilts, bound with reeds and palm leaves, their walls breathing with wind and rain. Boats glide between the homes like slow-moving spirits, carrying voices, laughter, and the faint rhythm of paddles striking water. The Warao's connection to the delta runs deeper than geography. It is spiritual, ancestral, and eternal. The river is their provider, their road, their story. It feeds their families, guides their journeys, and carries their prayers. From the reeds and palms, they weave roofs and baskets, cradles and dreams, shaping every part of life from what the delta offers. Children learn early to balance upon narrow planks, to move as easily on water as on land. For them, the world begins and ends in the breath of the river. Yet this timeless balance has faced the weight of change. Rising tides, loss of forest, and the distant reach of modern life threaten to silence the ancient rhythm of the Warao. Still, their resilience endures like the reeds themselves, bending, never breaking. Each dawn, smoke curls from the stilted homes, and the river glows beneath the sun's first fire, carrying forward the spirit of a people who have never left its side. In the hush of evening, when the Orinoco falls into gold and the delta hums with life, the Warao remain, guardians of a floating world where every ripple tells a story and every home stands as a prayer to the water that sustains them. Across the still waters of Lake Titicaca in western Ghana, the village of Nzulezo rises quietly from the surface, a place where life floats upon reflection. Wooden walkways and reed-framed homes stretch across the lake like a dream suspended between sky and water. Here, the Nzulezo people have lived for generations, their stilted houses standing above the gentle ripples, bound together by rope, faith, and memory. From a distance, the village seems to hover, an echo of the past preserved upon the calm mirror of the lake. The story of Nzulezo begins centuries ago, when ancestors seeking refuge from war and invasion followed the voice of a spirit that led them to these sacred waters. They built not upon the land, but upon the lake itself, shaping their homes from reed, wood, and palm fiber. The water became their protector, the reed their foundation, and the lake their living heart. In time, the village grew, a community of fishermen, craftsmen, and families bound by the rhythm of paddles and the shimmer of dawn. Each morning, the sound of wooden canoes glides softly across the water. Children paddle to school. Elders mend nets as light filters through the reed walls. The scent of lake and wood drifts through the air, mingling with voices that rise like prayer. Every plank and post bears the touch of those who came before, a history written not in stone, but in water's reflection. Life here is slow, deliberate, shaped by the patience of the lake itself. But beyond its beauty lies resilience. The Nzulezo people live with the lake's every mood, the floods, the storms, the endless humidity that tests every structure and every spirit. Still, the village endures, standing as a living monument to adaptation and faith. In the hush of evening, when the sun dips low and the stilted homes glow amber against the still water, the world feels timeless. Nzulezo remains a whisper of a forgotten harmony, where humanity learned to live gently, where water became home, and where the reeds still murmur the same ancient promise that survival, when born from peace, becomes a kind of grace. Far out in the Baltic Sea, where the waves roll cold and the winds carry the scent of pine and salt, lies Kinu, a small island off the coast of Estonia, where time seems to drift slower than the tides. Here, the Kinu Islanders have built their world from sea, song, and endurance. Their reed-thatched homes stand low against the northern wind, humble and strong, their roofs golden beneath the soft northern light. On quiet mornings, smoke rises from chimneys like whispers of memory, while the distant sea hums its ancient tune. For centuries, Kinu has been a world apart, a matriarchal island where women guard the traditions while men sail the distant seas. The rhythm of life here is measured not by the clock, but by the weather, the wind, and the stories passed from generation to generation. The reed thatch that crowns their homes is more than shelter. It is a symbol of patience and craft. Layer by layer, each stalk is placed with care, bound against the storms that roll in from the open sea. Inside, warmth gathers in woven fabrics and handmade patterns that tell of ancestors and harvests, love and loss. Kinu's people are keepers of an ancient spirit. Their music, their dances, their clothing, all hold the pulse of a world untouched by haste. Women in bright striped skirts move through the fields and shorelines, their colors vivid against the gray sea. Songs drift across the island like wind through reeds, carrying echoes of the past. Every tune is a story, every dance a prayer for continuity. Yet the modern world presses closer each year. Ferries bring visitors, roads grow wider, and the young dream of cities across the water. Still, the essence of Kinu endures. When evening falls and the last light brushes the reed roofs in gold, the island seems to exhale, a quiet moment suspended between tradition and tomorrow. Kinu remains not just a place, but a living memory of resilience and grace. An island where women keep the old songs alive, where homes still breathe with the scent of reed and sea, and where every wave that reaches the shore carries with it a story that refuses to fade,